Hello, everybody. Welcome to the September meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Nick Corcoran. I'm currently the chairman of this commission, which is comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing site plans and special use permits for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the City of Binghamton Code. Based on our total number of planning commission members, 4 members must be present to constitute a quorum. Tonight, we have 4 members, which means we do have a quorum and can proceed. First item on our agenda is roll call. Mario DeFulvio is absent. Joe D'Angelo is absent. Chris Judgeets.
And rock you like a hurricane.
Thank you. Kelly Weiss is walking in as we speak. All right, Kelly is present. Manny Priest and Kyle Nedlick.
Here.
All right. The second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody see anything in those meeting minutes that was a problem or that they took issue with or thought needed to be changed? All right. Anybody want to make a motion? Motion by,
To approve the minutes as submitted.
all right, motion by Chris,
Second.
second by Kyle, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's 4, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. On to the next item on our agenda. All right, we're on to seeker determinations. In this portion of our meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by applicants for the first time. Applicants will be called to the microphone where they will be asked to make a presentation describing their plans to the commission. Commission members may then ask questions of the applicant to clarify any items that are unclear. After all questions have been answered, the commission will deliberate and then either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. To all applicants that will be presenting tonight, we ask that you please state your name and address for our records before beginning your presentation. And we ask that any member of your team who will be speaking, please give their name and address for our public record. All right, so tonight, our first seeker determination is for the applicant 15 Smith Ave LLC. Project address is 4 Travis Ave. And this is a site plan review and special use permit for the demolition of an existing structure and construction of an ancillary parking lot in the I-3 heavy industrial district. Welcome. And when you sit down, if you push the buttons, when it's green, it'll be the microphone will be active, and you do kind of have to speak right directly into the microphones.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
My name is Nolan Kokoris. I'm with Bond Shenik and King. I represent the applicant. Here with me is Bill Perrine with CNS Engineers. Also, we've got Kyle Turner, the CEO of Buckingham Group, and Dadian Canfield, who's a manufacturing and facilities engineer.
All right. You might have to get even closer.
They're available to answer any questions the board has as well. I'm gonna just hand around some handouts I brought, and then I'll sit down and
Great. Thank you.
going. Same thing, just paper copies.
Oh, wait, Crepe Myrtle. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of Rosa Sharon. Crepe Myrtle might not. You may have to take it inside. Beautiful, thank you. Oh, wait, I have one extra.
I just handed around a copy of the plans that were submitted. So you've got it in paper in front of you to flip through, and then the smaller packet is a few things. So it's got our names and information. There's an aerial view showing where the property is situated, where the proposed site of the project is, and then it's got the site plan review standards with our responses to why we believe the project meets the criteria. So that's kind of the outline for what I'm going to go through, and then Bill will get into kind of the technical stuff once I get through the legal stuff. So this project involves 4 Travis Ave, and it's proposed to have a parking lot expansion for the existing parking facilities for Buckingham Manufacturing. The applicant 15 Smith Ave LLC is affiliated with Buckingham. So they're similarly owned. And I understand the special permit component of that has to do with the property being a different parcel as the existing parking. So the applicant is willing to combine the lots. I've discussed that with Mr. Patel with the planning staff that we're willing to do that. So that shouldn't be an obstacle for the approval. The board is so inclined. In terms of the standards that were being applied, a lot of them are either improvements to the existing site or not really applicable to this project. No buildings being constructed. It's removing a non-conforming existing use, which is a residence at the 4 Travis Ave property, which, you know, from a zoning perspective, that really brings it closer to what the industrial zoning for the site is really looking for in terms of the uses. So going through these factors here, movement of vehicles and people, public safety, off-street parking, those are all things that we think the project's going to improve. In terms of lot size, density, setbacks, building size, coverage, the parking is going to have a minimal increase in coverage, but the plans we've submitted account for that and have stormwater mitigation capacity, which Bill can get into in greater detail. And then in terms of the setbacks, density, et cetera, those are all within the requirements of the city zoning ordinance. Landscaping, there's a landscaping plan where there's buffering, screening with shrubs and privacy fencing. And then, you know, a few other things not super applicable, and then compatibility with the general character of the neighborhood. Like I mentioned, the existing use of the property is a residential use. It's a non-conforming use for the industrial zoning district. So we would be removing that structure, bringing the parking facilities where it's a permitted use in the zoning district. So, you know, by virtue of the zoning legislation, that's compatible with the neighborhood. So that's kind of a quick 5-minute version of you know, all the factors that the board is supposed to consider. The final page is just a look at the proposed design, and so with that, I'll turn it over to Bill to get more into the mechanics of the design and the specifics.
Again, good evening, board members. Bill Perrine from CNS Engineers. The proposed parking lot expansion is in the area in a green box on the aerial handout that you have. The applicant is proposing 9 new parking spaces, dimension 9 foot wide, 18 foot long. We understand the city has a 5-foot landscape buffer requirement. North is up the page on your packet, and if you're looking at sheet C102, along the north property line, we have that 5-foot buffer. with new shrub planting and a 8-foot tall white vinyl fence for screening against the residents to the north. There's an existing fence along the east property line. And in regards to stormwater, on page C 103 of your 11x17 packet, we understand that the city of Binghamton has an urban runoff reduction plan, but because we are under 20 parking spaces and we have under 5,000 square feet of impervious, which we do, that we would be exempt from that. So we have provided underground storage for the 50-year storm event with 2 new catch basins in the center of the parking lot. We've assumed the minimum infiltration rate with that to be conservative. And there is a modified curb cut on Travis Avenue, and the width is increasing to 26 feet wide. And I think that's the gist of it. It's pretty straightforward, but happy to answer any technical questions.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Very straightforward. Let's see, the staff report just notes about the existing building having to go through COD review for tearing it down. Have you already been through COD?
Yes, so we were here last week. They made their determination of no significance.
No, significance. Great. And I think you talked about this at the beginning, but the applicant must combine the lot with 2 Travis Ave.
Yes,
Is it
so,
for zoning rules?
yeah, we're willing to do that. We would ask that that be a condition of the approval so that, before we go through and do the subdivision process, we know whether or not the site plan's gonna be allowed.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, is the the property to the south with the garage, is that part of Buckingham as well, or?
Yes, so I believe that's the 2 Travis Ave property.
2
'cause that-
Travis Ave,
Yeah,
okay.
there's 2 parcels to the south.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What happens in that, in the garage?
I believe it's just used for storage. for
Storage, okay,
Buckingham.
great. All right. All right, if nobody has any other questions, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the construction of a parking lot, which is a seeker unlisted action.
Can
and
I
that-
jump in real quick? So
Uh-oh.
for the EAF that I have, question 13B is not marked. I'm assuming it's no, but just confirming before we do seeker. It has to do with the wetlands.
I've got a copy, bear with me. Question 13.
It's would the proposed action physically alter or encroach into any existing wetland or water body?
Okay, yeah, that should be marked no.
It's all yours.
Yeah. You won't be disturbing the pond that's on that street or the. All right. All right, so I'll continue the motion that it's a seeker unlisted action and that the planning commission should be the lead agency for seeker review. Seconded by Manny, all in favor? All right, that's 5 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the project at our October meeting at 5:20. Seconded by Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you back in October and have a public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent drawings, by the way. This is a good
Yeah.
package. So. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you. All right. Our next seeker determination tonight is for the applicant Upstate Tires Binghamton LLC. The project address is 12 Alice Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit to establish a light industrial facility, wholesale tire sale and storage in the I-3 heavy industrial district. Welcome. Oh, I think the microphone, is it still green?
There we go.
Oh.
Hi, Patricia Every, PA Every Architect, 31 Oak Ridge Drive, Binghamton, New York. I'm here for the owner. This is an existing building, as you know, and they would like to take this vacant building and use it for tire storage. What can I tell you about the building? Anything you'd like to know?
All right. So pretty straightforward, or?
It's really straightforward. We're not doing anything but maybe some updates inside for exiting and code. Those type of updates. It's an existing building. There's existing offices. There's a conveyor belt from the basement to the first floor that was obviously used for some part of the industrial, previous industrial use. And really, there's no intended changes. There's 2 loading docks, so they only anticipate the employees that are there selling things to the retailer, not to the general public, but people will make an appointment and they'll back into those 2 areas that are where the loading docks are. And so there shouldn't be a lot of changes to the city street in terms of traffic. And at the moment, there's nothing planned for the exterior. They have a deed where they have an easement for 6 parking places elsewhere, but the site's pretty tight. There's no place for parking on this site.
All right. Any questions? Yeah.
So a couple of questions based on the staff report. You folks provided a satellite image and not a full site plan. Before the next meeting, when there's the public hearing, will you be willing to provide to the planning staff a full site plan showing the overhead door locations, the driveway aprons, all those kind of good technical things?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. On that site plan, actually, question for Tito. There's a comment on the staff report about the installation of new compliant concrete aprons at the overhead doors. I'm assuming you guys have details and specs for what would be compliant concrete aprons that can be provided to the applicant?
Yeah, the engineering department has a standard for those that we can provide.
Okay. I guess I'd like to also clarify that there will be no outdoor storage of tires.
No,
Okay.
none intended.
And the staffing report comments upon the building exterior being painted. Is there a plan to paint the exterior of the building?
If that's what you would like.
Okay. What's my question?
All right. Kyle?
Just one question. You mentioned there was some potential code updates to egress pathways and doors. I guess also a question for Tito, if there's code interior updates made for this type of application review, would we need interior plans of any updates as well?
Well, we have the floor plan. We wouldn't need construction level drawings of the updates. Those will be handled by the building department when they apply for a building permit.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
All right. So the entire length of Alice Street is going to be converted to this use, or there's still other uses inside the building?
There's still a portion of the building that's going to be unused at this point.
Unused, okay.
There's a fire rated wall between the 2 sections. It could
Okay.
be split off as another tenant.
Okay. So the people that are going to be working at the tire facility, where do they park?
In the deed has 6 parking places on a neighboring property.
A neighboring property?
Yeah. It's an
Okay.
easement that they have.
Okay.
Mhm.
Tito, just how does that work? Is everyone grandfathered in because they're not updating the site plan in any way that parking isn't required, or is?
They have a parking requirement of 6 spaces.
6 spaces.
If the easement would satisfy that because they can provide parking within 500 feet, because it's a non-residential use.
Okay, great. And you have a copy of that easement,
Not with me, but I
No,
will get it to you.
but
Mhm.
that could at some point be given to planning,
Yeah.
just so that they know
Okay.
that it's taken care of forever. Is there a time limit on the easement? Do you know? Or is it like a 50-year, or is it?
That I don't know. I will
Okay.
check.
So looking at what I have in the packet for the application, it looks like it's a permanent easement.
Permanent easement. All right, perfect. All right. And so is that 6 parking spaces, is that for the entire square footage of the building, or that's just for the tire facility? So if they came back with a future project, they'd have to provide more parking spaces?
That's for the square footage that's being proposed right now.
Okay. So no, not a big deal for this current review, but if they come back, you come back with a future tenant for that other part,
Hmm.
parking would be have to be accounted for that next project later. So,
Okay.
all right. Any other questions, concerns? The neighbors are generally happy about this proposal, or?
It's a lot of vacant buildings.
Okay, yep,
So I think they're very happy.
all right, great. All right. All right, so if there's no other questions or comments, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the reuse of an existing industrial building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and that no further environmental review is required. All right, seconded by Manny, all in favor? All right, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing at 5:25 at our October meeting for the project. Seconded by Chris, all in favor? All right, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we'll see you back in October.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes seeker determinations. And now we're on to our next portion of our meeting, which is public hearings and final deliberations. In this portion of our meeting, we'll be holding open public hearings to obtain public opinion in regard to specific projects that are up for review. Applicants will be asked to come to the microphone and make a brief presentation describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we were reviewing your information, so it would be very helpful if you could please give us a brief overview of your project to remind us what you're planning, and then clearly identify any changes that have been made since the last time we saw you. When the applicant is done presenting and any clarifications have been reviewed, we will open the public hearing and allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate. To our applicants, when your project name is called, please come to the microphone and start off by giving the name and address of any members of the applicant's team that are planning to speak for our public record. And to anyone from the community that will be speaking in regard to a project tonight, please also start off by stating your name and address for our records. For anyone unfamiliar with the format of a public hearing, we'll be opening the microphone to solicit public comment about a specific project up for review. Public comments should be directed to the commission members or to members of the planning commission and staff, and not directed towards the applicant. It is not acceptable for any member of the public to enter into any form of discussion with the applicant directly during the meeting. The commission members will take note of any specific questions or comments that come up during the public comment portion of the meeting. When there are no additional community members wishing to speak about the project, the public hearing portion of the meeting will be closed and the applicant will be given a chance to respond. Commission members will ask the applicant to comment on any questions that were brought up by the community if they are relevant to our review. It will again not be acceptable for any member of the public to attempt to enter into a dialogue with the applicants while they respond to questions or comments that arise during the public hearing. All right. So tonight, our first public hearing is for the applicant Firomar Inc. Project address is 22 Charles Street. This is a site plan review for the construction of an addition onto an existing industrial building and the establishment of a 51,000 square foot light industrial business in the I-1 Urban Business Park.
Hi, so you guys
Hello.
need an overview of the project, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Sarah Glose. I work for the City of Binghamton and I'm the Executive Director of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. A representative from Firomar could not be here today because they are in Connecticut, getting their equipment ready for shipment and installation. So the Binghamton Local Development Corporation still owns the site that Firomar is working on. We have an option agreement with them and they're working with us under a hold harmless agreement. So very familiar with the project, have been working with them. So my understanding is that they are installing a piece of machinery that will enable them to manufacture prefabricated panels that can either be used for construction or for rehabilitation of buildings to create more energy efficient building envelopes. So this site plan approval would allow them to proceed with that manufacturing. I know there were a couple questions that the Planning Commission had, and I believe that the documents that were submitted by them today meet those concerns. And I don't know if there's anything else I'm supposed to technically be talking about, but I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any additional details.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the new plans that were just submitted or just uploaded by Tito before the meeting?
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Chris, how are you?
So I hate to be difficult, and you may not be able to answer these questions
That's okay.
well, but we did specifically ask in the minutes last month that the applicant submit, there's a request for a landscaping plan
Mhm.
and for an interior floor plan. I'm not sure if
The
this
land,
revised site plan,
one of the
That-
site plans has
what page is that?
notification. Yeah, it's not
So
super
the,
user friendly, but it is on there.
okay,
the floor plan starts on page 5. The landscape plan,
It's on one of the site plans and each individual plant is labeled.
getting page 6. Thank you, Mr. Harry. Page 6 is the landscape plan.
oh, okay, so I don't have, all right, take that back. If there was a 4 o'clock upload, I missed that. I only
There's-
caught the 10:30 a.m. upload, which I was reviewed on my lunch break, so.
There were 2, yeah, there were 2.
Okay.
plans.
Yes, and I thank you for accommodating Firemar's haphazard approach to this. They're working fast and furious to get this operation up and running to meet some deadlines that they have.
There are also renderings which were requested. Those start on page 15.
And Tito, as far as you're concerned, from the planning department's point of view, they've met the parking requirements and they've addressed your comments from the staff report.
Yeah, they addressed the setback issue by including that northern lot in the site plan. They're meeting all requirements.
All right.
So that's, okay.
So are they taking the next property to the north of them?
So they have an option agreement for that. So their plan is to take that property and to expand onto it. But just in the interest of being able to meet their timeline for production, they're focusing on the 22 Charles lot at this time.
All right. Any questions, comments before we open a public hearing? All right. So we'll open the public hearing and see if anybody's here to speak about the project. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Firomar Inc. The project address is 22 Charles Street. This is a site plan review for the construction of an addition onto an existing industrial building and the establishment of a 51,000 square foot light industrial business in the I-1 Urban Business District or Business Park If anybody would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
Hello. I'm Mr. Cachadorian. I live on Charles Street, about not 800 feet from the power plant. The issue with me is that I really haven't seen the site plans, whatever. And I thought for once that, you know, they were bouncing around that this property was going to be used to power up part of Binghamton, you know, for energy, because NYSEG has been taking it to the residents, and the people are getting hammered. I'm hearing daily today, even I heard 3 or 4 people mention their bills are outrageous. And I was hoping that this property, when it was built, and then the city took over, that it would be something that would be much more productive for the city of Binghamton, even if it was just the first ward or even the west side and first ward residents of powering up their homes with electricity and heat. I'm very, very, very upset about it. I really was shocked when I saw the construction. I thought maybe it was going to be another power plant again, and I was hoping it would be. But I'm not very happy with how the money's been tossed around to use it for something other than powering up the city of Binghamton. I am not happy about it whatsoever. So those are my thoughts on this project. But, you know, when the contractors were going in and ripping everything out, and, you know, I saw the dumpsters coming in and out daily. I was just kind of shocked, because I remember when they built it, and we had since we own property around the area and that power plant. And we had a walkthrough when it was done. And I was amazed that a 747 jet engine powered that power plant up to power up and sell energy back to NYSEG. And I was hoping that that would be the same case here, and using that for the majority of the residents to benefit from it. And here, I don't see where the residents are going to get any benefit other than the people that are putting the money into this project and benefiting it for themselves.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
very good. Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak about the project? All right. Seeing nobody else, we'll close the public hearing. All right, Sarah, are you you're the representative? Do you want to come back over?
Okay.
To be honest, the use of the site is not really relevant to a site plan review, so we don't need you to comment on that particular public comment unless you feel like you
Yeah.
want to.
I'm happy to respond. The previous owners took the turbine with them when they left, which is about $1 million asset. So the city of Binghamton wouldn't be able to pay to have that reinstalled. And then the natural gas permits from New York State expired, and New York State is no longer generally issuing new natural gas permits for power plants. So it wasn't really a possibility to turn this back into a power plant.
Okay, great. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so in our last meeting, we decided that. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry, just checking. So in our last meeting, we decided that this was a seeker type 1 action. So therefore, I'm going to make a motion for a negative declaration for seeker based on the following items. Impact on land. The proposed action may involve construction on or physically alter or physical altercation of the land surface of the proposed site. So yes, but it's going to have a small or minimal impact. Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. For example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, or caves. No. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. No. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. No or small impact. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in the development on lands subject to flooding. No. Impact on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. No or small impact. Impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna. No or small impact. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. No. Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a historic or aesthetic resource. Scenic or aesthetic resource. No or small impact. Impact on historic or archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. Yes, but it'll have a small or no impact to that historic or archaeological resource. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. No or small impact. Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. No. Impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. No or small impact. Impact on energy. The proposed action may result in an increase in the use of any form of energy. No or small impact. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. Yes, but it'll have minimal impact or no impact in terms of environmental impact. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. No. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is consistent with adopted land use plans. Yes. Consistency with community character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the existing community character. The proposed action is consistent with the existing community character, therefore it is not inconsistent. So no, it is has no or small impact to community character. All right, based on all of those items, I'll make a motion for a negative declaration. All right, seconded by Chris, all in favor? All right, there's 5 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review have been met. Seconded by Kyle, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. All right, on to our second public hearing for tonight. This is for the applicant Skyway Equities. The project address is 162 Court Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of the basement and first floor of an existing mixed-use building into a self-service storage warehouse in the C1 Service Commercial District.
Excellent. Robert Harner, Lakeside Engineering, 83 Fall Street, Seneca Falls, New York. Last time we were here, we proposed to utilize the vacant first floor and basement for self-storage units, primarily for the tenants. a question was brought up about parking. If we were over 4,000 square feet, we would have to provide, I believe it was 2 parking spaces. The client went back and talked to others and basically decided that they were only going to develop the first floor, which puts it under the 4,000. And that's primarily the change that was made. A few comments were brought up about security and so forth, and those have been addressed in the plans. So instead of doing anything in the basement, that'll remain as is, and we're basically gonna put 50 units, storage units on the first floor of the building at 162 Court Street. And there'll be various sizes, either 4x8 or 8x8, primarily used by those tenants, so.
All right. Any questions, comments about the revised plans before we open a public hearing? Chris?
Yeah, just to make sure it's on the record. So with the revised plans, what is going to be the square footage of the proposed use?
Yes, that'll be 3,950. And we actually scan that with a 3D high resolution camera, so we have very accurate floor plans. We didn't use a tape measure. So it just happened to work out very well.
All right. All right, well, let's open the public hearing and see if there's anybody here to speak about the project tonight. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Skyway Equities. The project address is 162 Court Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of the basement, for the conversion of the first floor of an existing mixed-use building into a self-service storage warehouse in the C1 Service Commercial District. Anyone who'd like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
Hi, my name is Christian Vivaro. I'm a student at Binghamton University. Currently live at 162 Court Street, upstairs in apartment 3B. And yeah, I just wanted to voice some of the concerns myself and some of the tenants. Actually, all 50, I think it's 52 tenants that we live with now. So yeah, tenants on the second floor will hear the construction, and it violates the warranty of habitability New York State tenant law in regards to peacefully enjoying our home. A bunch of the tenants, mostly on the second floor, are worried about the residue and flammable items from the construction being stored directly below on the first floor, since there's currently not adequate fire protection from the first floor and up the building. It's a pretty tight spaced building. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the floor plans currently. Yeah, we're worried about the building security, given that the area and the amount of people that will be on our corner 24/7, given that there's going to be construction. People are worried, our tenants are worried about the construction on the first floor and the residue and like wood chips, I guess, and people have asthma, other respiratory issues that might come up with construction in such a tight knit space, since the first floor currently is unused, but we do still live in the second, third, and fourth floor, and it's pretty tight space. Yeah, we are worried about that there's not enough parking on the street, because tenants at 162 Court Street currently park on the Carroll Street. We live on the corner of Court and Carroll, so Court Street, we park across the street. There's obviously places that are restricted to park, and in the winter, when the opposite side rule comes into effect, that cuts off a good amount of parking as well. So we're worried about where we're gonna have to park our cars. We have over 50 people in our house. So yeah, that is a concern. Tenants are worried that there's not an adequate loading dock and separate space for those using the storage facility to unload, and it will impede our current access to the building. And also I'd like to add that this building has been used as student housing for many years. And if it's going to be used for student housing many years after, we have had good relations with the owners, and we don't want to damage them. They we love this house and we would love to come back. We don't want any damage to our relationship.
All right,
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
excellent. Thank you.
Is it okay if I address a couple questions to the,
Yeah, of
Public-
course.
Sure.
No problem.
the concerns that you raised tonight?
Yeah.
Have you raised them directly with the property owner / your landlord? They can be addressed.
I'm not the current one in relationship. I'm not the one that talks to the landlord directly, but
Should they come down here to
yeah,
address that?
he can come down.
Okay.
Yeah, he can come down.
I would ask too, I'm assuming many of the other folks here are also residents.
Yeah,
Are you a group affiliation?
no,
There's like Greek letters that you guys all share or something?
no.
All right. Do you mind stating your name and address for our record?
My name is James Kiley. I'm a resident of 162 Court Street and I live in apartment 2A on the second floor.
Perfect. Chris, what was your question?
The first basic question is, you brought numerous concerns here tonight and we appreciate that. Have you communicated your concerns as residents and tenants to the property owner / your landlord directly?
So I talked to our landlord and he told me that we have nothing to worry about. And I called him and I said, I wanted to know more about the plans because the first time I heard of this was when I walked out of my building in the morning and there was a sign on the street. So we had no idea none of this was going on. I called, his name is Tom D'Angelo. I called Tom and I said, listen, like, is this going to impede anything? And he was like, don't worry, it's all fine. And then he said, if you want more information, to contact the planning committee. So I called the number on that sign outside and they said, you can come in and look at all the plans and see what's going on. And I said, all right, that's perfect. So I came in and then when I came in here, there was nothing available for me to look at. I was told, I mean, I had good conversation when I was here. Like the person I talked to, they were good. Like I had no concerns. Then he said, if you wanted to come to the meeting, to come to this. So we're here now. So.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else who'd like to speak about the project?
Hi, my name is Richard Walder. I'm a resident of 162 Court Street. Sorry. My name is Richard Walder. I'm a resident at 162 Court Street and I live in apartment 2C. My main concern is that during the hours of construction that they said they were going to work under, I also work a remote job. I work with different clientele and there's about, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the floor plans, there's about a 6-inch space with no insulation between the first and second floor. The noise that would be produced from this construction would affect me greatly. I work on Zoom meetings with these clientele along with some of my other roommates, and that is the biggest concern for me.
All right.
That's
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Anybody else who would like to speak about the project? All right. Seeing no one else, we'll close the public hearing. If you don't mind coming back up. All right, this is your opportunity to respond to any of the comments brought up.
Sure, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad they brought those comments up. They're all good, valid concerns. However, with any project, there will be noise, but we're not building or renovating the entire space, right? We're just cutting some 2x4s, putting up these units. So I understand there'll be noise, but it'll be done in the morning, likely from, 8 in the morning till 5 at night. So that you will hear saws. The last thing about the 6-inch space, there's a fire rated ceiling in that space. If you look above that space, there's 3x12 joist. Currently, I don't believe it's insulated, but there is at least a barrier between that. A second point that was made about construction hazardous materials. Essentially, there's hazardous materials. It's wood, screws, metal, those sort of things. As far as security of the building, they currently live there. The building is locked. There's a code. This first floor will be sectioned off. There'll be a separate code for those that want to utilize this space. As far as parking, I believe we've addressed that. None is required. But there is parking on the street if somebody did need to, for short term, unload some items. I don't think they're going to be, camping out there. So I guess with that said, we do understand that there will be some noise, but after that, generally how these storage units are used, typically you would put items in there. It's not like you come in and out every day to get things out of these items. That's been our understanding, is that people will store items there for a month, maybe 6 months, maybe longer. So we don't see that it's a huge concern with a lot of people coming and going and putting these items in there. So.
All right, Kelly?
I have a couple of questions for you. One is the heating and air conditioning system within the whole building. And what is that comprised of?
As far as the upper floors, I'm not sure. We weren't hired to do anything, but I'm assuming they're furnaces.
Okay.
So on the first floor space, there is heating and cooling. There's existing furnaces that were replaced. I'd also like to point out that there is a fire alarm system, fully sprinklered building. So all floors have a fire alarm system, including the first floor, the basement. And the building has a fire suppression system. There's also what's required by code, a 1 hour ceiling for fire rating as well.
Okay, maybe I didn't pose that right. Would there be any exchange and return ducts that would be taking any of the air from the construction area? We have a construction project going on at our house and dust is insane.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel for this.
There's certainly plenty of exits. There are some windows there. But if there is a lot of dust, of course, you could ventilate that to the outside fairly easily.
Okay, is that something that we could, put into the plan, that there'd be some sort of ventilation system to get that dust out and a barrier created to keep this from as much as they can from the upstairs?
Sure. And again, that's a valid concern. Like I said, we have a lid or a ceiling that's completely sealed off from the second floor. I built a lot of homes myself. It does make sawdust, but
Yeah.
it's not. But yes, to answer your question, I'm sure the client or the
Would
owner
be
would
willing
be
to do that.
receptive to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Kyle?
What is the expected construction timeline? I guess, how long is the project expected to take?
Yeah, my understanding, this is something that I personally could build in a couple of weeks, but I can't speak for the owner or who they're gonna get to do the project. If they get a building permit, I would like to think that they would get in and get out. So it shouldn't take more than a couple weeks, in my opinion. Maybe a month worst case. So.
All right, I guess, yeah, I'd be curious to know a more firm schedule, and being a HVAC engineer, I agree. I think we'd want to know that there's provisions to block off returns at a minimum, and that duct cleaning performed like at the end of the project.
Yeah, so just to be clear though, we have new furnaces just for that space.
Is it
So-
floor by floor?
And then I can't speak for the upper floors, how they heat and cool that space. Alls I can tell you is there's exposed duct from 2 furnaces in that space that only service the first floor. So we wouldn't be blocking off ducts or bringing dust upstairs. There's a lid. But of course, we would want to do what's necessary for the tenants as well.
I will just point out, there is a limit to what is site plan review and what is the owner's relationship with his tenants, that I'm not sure there's a checklist or a checkbox in our
Yeah.
site plan review. So just pointing that out when we're going too deep into some of these questions.
Got it, thanks.
Can we ask about the, just to address the shared loading spaces?
Yeah, currently there are no loading spaces there. It's just on-street parking at this point.
Yeah.
So with the first floor being a street facing window front commercial space and there being 2 floors available, is there any reason that the basement wasn't chosen instead of the first floor?
Just as far as the amount of square feet, it's much smaller space that can be used. All the fire suppression equipment's down there and other non-usable spaces.
Okay.
So it's easier access, accessibility, and maximizing the number of units versus trying to carve up 2 floors to keep it below 4,000 square feet. And I do want to point out, I think there was a comment about keeping the building the same. We're not changing anything on the exterior. We're not putting units up against windows. We're keeping that lobby space just as it is. We're going to make sure the egress signs work and have everything checked for code once they come in to do the building permit.
All right. All right. Any other questions, concerns?
I've got one
Okay.
thing. So at the last meeting, my understanding was that the storage space is going to be primarily used or primarily for the occupants of the building. Is that still accurate?
That was my understanding. That's what I was told by the client, correct?
All right. Any other? Chris is thinking.
I know the public hearing is closed. But I am seeing some shaking heads from audience members about whether or not these storage units are intended for the occupants. I'm not sure how that can be addressed with the public hearing being closed. And I'm not sure if that's really a point of site review anyways.
So I say, I'm not sure how that's
I mean, if the
100% relevant to it, but
So I mean,
Interested.
for site plan review, obviously you can look at operational characteristics as part of understanding what's going to be going on there. And obviously that was something that was put forward at the last meeting. So I just wanted to make sure that that understanding was accurate based off of what was said at the last meeting.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've been to, hundreds of board meetings over the years, and we all understand the NIMBY syndrome. I get that. But we haven't heard from somebody on, say, the 4th floor or the 3rd floor. And again, I'm not sure if it's relevant, but that was my understanding that primarily they were going to offer it to the tenants first because there is a demand and a need in the city of Binghamton for self-storage. And this is just putting a vacant space that's been vacant since I worked in the building back in '96 when Don Adams owned it. So that's just my understanding.
okay. All right. Any other questions, concerns? All right.
And we did get 239 comments back from the county.
Yes. All right, 239 comments back from the county. I assume you have a copy of those or?
Yeah.
Okay, so they concur with City of Binghamton staff report. City of Binghamton should ensure the project follows City of Binghamton historic design guidelines and zoning performance standards. City of Binghamton might also want to consider the items below to the extent necessary: emergency access and hazardous material storage.
So currently we have 2 means of egress into the building. And again, it's fire alarm, fire suppression for early warning and et cetera. And as far as hazardous materials, we talked about that. That is not a good use when you have mixed use. So in the leases, it was going to be presented that you are not allowed to store any hazardous materials in there, including lawnmowers, snow blowers, et cetera, that has hazardous materials. So it'd be up to the owner to, regulate that as well and make sure that's not occurring.
Okay. The need for including good design in the storage units. Uh, Keeping setbacks from the front windows, keeping first floor front lobby to maintain a more pedestrian friendly streetscape. I think you talked about that at the last
Correct.
meeting.
No units in front of the windows, correct?
Right. Stack storage units, climate controlled units, on-site manager, inspections and potential for advertisements on units. In garage sales or other means for liquidating or removing contents and associated traffic.
Yeah, so essentially there are no stacked units. They're obviously side by side. It is climate controlled. There won't be an on-site full-time manager from my understanding, but somebody will have to be there, you know, to oversee it. If it's the management company, Tom D'Angelo, I'm not sure. As far as I know, it could be put in the lease, but you know, I wouldn't want a garage sale out of that unit. So no liquidation, no garage sales, et cetera.
All right. All right. All right, so at the last meeting, we determined that the proposal involves the reuse of an existing mixed-use building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, and that no further environmental review was required. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for the site plan review and special use permit have been met. Seconded by Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's 5 in favor, all opposed? All right, 0 opposed. All right, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. All right,
We're all set.
yep,
Thank you.
thank you. I do want to just clarify that the comments about the noise during construction, while I think all of us were sympathetic, they don't really apply to a site plan review. And that's, if you guys want to take that up with the owner, your landlord, absolutely, we support you, but unfortunately, it's not part of the site plan review, so, thank you. Sure. So tonight, we just approved, as far as the planning board's review, we've approved their project, and now it would be basically between you and the owner, your tenant, or landlord. So, yeah, you're welcome. All right,
Right,
Kelly,
just a-
yeah.
If I had a suggestion to you guys, you know, you obviously want to maintain a good relationship, but get something in writing with all of you signing it with some reasonable requests and stuff, you know, get documentation, get everybody to sign it. That helps with things, you know, so they can see how many of you have concerns. Good luck.
All right, our last public hearing tonight is for the applicant Robert Pornbeck. Project address is 211 Court Street. And this is a site plan review and special use permit to convert an existing residential building into a congregate living facility with 7 sleeping rooms in the C1 Service Commercial District.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Pornbeck, and I own 211 Court Street. Trying to move ahead with the technicalities here. It's been 7 rooms for the last 20 some years. And due to a glitch, we have to apply for a rooming permit. And the one requirement you did ask of me is something I can do. That is enclosing the garbage in the back with a, like I said, an enclosed garbage structure.
All right. All right, any questions before we open the public hearing? All right, so we'll open the public hearing. So this is the public hearing for the applicant Robert Pornbeck. Project address is 211 Court Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to convert an existing residential building into a congregate living facility with 7 sleeping rooms in the C1 Service Commercial District. If there's anyone who would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
Mr. Cacciadorian again. We have a building next to the proposed project. My questions are these going to be individuals that are going to have their own separate entities or apartments, basically? I have some questions about this. I don't know much about the project. I just found out about it late this afternoon. And I'm curious. Bob usually does a good job of taking care of things, and he's pretty good about having a one-on-one conversation and taking care of the matters if there's a problem. I just want to ask certain questions about maybe security on this project, and if he's going to have enough parking in the back for that project itself. I have no issues with it. Basically, it's just a security issue and parking possibly, but that's about it. I wish Bob the best. I'm sure that he may have a good project ahead, so I'm not opposing it.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody? Anybody else want to speak about the project?
We got 239 comments for this as well.
All right.
They did not find any significant countywide impacts, but they had the following comments. Site plan should reflect the BMTS and staff report comments for traffic, safety, and aesthetics. We recommend the dumpster not be placed within the front yard. So those are the general comments, and then going to the BMTS comments. BMTS agrees with the comment in the city staff report that the planning commission should consider replacement of the paved front yard with plantings and the installation of curbing along the street. This would prevent the backing out of vehicles into Court Street, which would improve safety for pedestrians and vehicles.
Yeah, once we close the public hearing, we'll have you come back up. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and yep, come on back up. Yeah, and you can respond to any of the comments.
Sure. Well, the first thing, like I said, it's been the same thing since I bought the building with the rooms. Nothing's changed. There's no construction, there's no building, there's nothing. And right now, the number of tenants that have vehicles there is 0. These aren't like college students. And, you know, I think I addressed that situation the last time I was here when Danielle Dunster was here. So this is housing for those that are kind of in need of, you know, basically DSS.
Gotcha.
So.
Sorry, what is the required number of parking spaces?
Seven.
We meet that.
Okay, I guess to meet the parking requirements, the front parking spaces have to remain.
Correct.
Do we have the ability to reduce the parking requirement
Yes,
by,
by 50%, so it's 3 spaces.
is anybody opposed to a reduction in the parking requirement?
If it would mean more green space and a buffer, I'd be fine with that.
Okay,
We have a lot of green space in the back. There's a whole lawn there.
if we reduce the requirement for the parking, would you be willing to take out the asphalt in the front yard? And
No.
no,
No.
okay, no,
It's
no,
been that,
improve-
it's been that way ever since I've owned it. We've never had an issue.
I got you.
There's never been an accident there, nothing. Like I said, the number of cars, I know one girl that's owned a car since I've owned the building,
Okay,
and she just sold it. She lives up front. So there's actually 0 vehicles there. Most of these people are not in a position to own a car. So
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the reuse of an existing residential building, which is a type 2 action. Sorry, we already determined that it was a type 2 action at the last meeting, so no further environmental review is required. And so I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. Second by Kelly, all in favor? All right, 5 in favor, 0 opposed.
thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Have a good evening.
All right. All right, that concludes public hearings and final deliberations. Anybody have any other business they want to talk about tonight?
There may be a new member joining. Still has to get confirmed by city council. There may be a new member joining. The person still has to be confirmed by city council, but there is a vacant seat. Joe D'Angelo is an alternate, so he's not filling that permanent 7th seat. So this person would fill that seat and be at every meeting if confirmed. So
All right,
that's all I got.
all right, I think that's it.
Yes, the next meeting, I think next meeting is the second Tuesday of the month as well, right? It's the 8th instead of the 1st. If my calendar's right.
Next meeting date,
I think it's the 8th.
October 8th.
So for us,
It is the 8th.
Let me just double check. You never know if there's a holiday I don't know about. It's October 8th.
October 8th. Okay. All right. All right, motion to adjourn by Chris, second by Kelly, all in favor, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, thank you.